Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Michelle, your host and pocket DJ of Coffee Fueled Stories, a show where storytelling and coffee hang out. This month is our special Halloween episode, and our special guest is Rebecca Baum. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's great to be here and to be your Halloween show. Wow, that
Yes,
is an
yes.
honor.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I've got your book here. Hopefully it doesn't disappear because I do have the blurry background. So we're going to talk about, let's see if I can get it going here. Oh, no, it disappeared. Ah, crap. The Brood. That is our Halloween uh, episode special. So without further ado, why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know a little bit about you, a little bit about the book, and then we're going to dive in because I have a lot of questions for you.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. Well, I am a writer here in New York City. I live in Greenwich Village. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I've been here for over 25 years. And The Brood is my genre debut with horror. I have one other prior book called Lifelike Creatures, which was, generally literary fiction. And The Brood is sort of the broad description of it is it's a feminist body horror with elements of eco horror, a dash of folk horror, and a slew of periodical cicadas. And To get into the details, our protagonist is Mary Welton. She is a really tough as nails, cutthroat New York City attorney. She takes no prisoners. She is not concerned with being liked, which luckily she isn't because she is not liked by most of the people in her orbit. She is leaving a funeral in upstate New York, and her GPS, gets offline, and she becomes lost. Her car collides with a blob of cicadas, and she wrecks, is knocked unconscious. She awakens in this very rustic cabin, um, attended to slash being held hostage by a strange, very physically imposing woman known only as Girl. And this woman seems to be not only is she obsessed with this brood of cicadas she keeps referring to, but she also believes that Mary is the mother who abandoned her decades before. So that is where the fun begins.
So I'm gonna ask you some questions about Mary and this book.
Please.
So first question is, do you hate Mary?
No, I don't. I don't. And I would love to know where the source of that question. Because I put her through so much.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been in a writing workshop on and off with the same person. He's a wonderful teacher. And I remember when I first got in that workshop with my first novel, Lifelike Creatures, um, he kept coaching me and the rest of the participants, like, you gotta put your characters through it. You gotta, because we get like really, we get really, concerned and careful, and we don't want to hurt them. I guess because we kind of relate to them. I don't know, but he said you gotta put them through it, because if you don't put them through it, then how are they gonna get through it along with the reader in that
Yes.
journey?
Yes. So now that question was my first question when I just started, without giving any spoilers. So all I have to say is thank you for, I'm just gonna leave it as just thank you with her. But a couple of things that I thought were interesting to have a connection to your character. I too have wipes in the center console of my car. Do you?
I okay. This is my embarrassing revelation. I I've not had a driver's license for over 25 years. So while my husband and I do have a car, I don't drive. I'm sure there are wipes someplace in the vehicle, not the center console though.
Okay. It's mostly just because I sometimes, so I try not to drink and eat in the car,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have to, like if you're on like a really long road trip, I like 4 hours is kind of like my time limit. Like if I
Mm.
haven't eaten and we're still on the road and it's been 4 hours, damn it, I'm gonna eat in the car. I'm
Yeah,
hung by that point, I'm hungry and I need to eat.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you don't want to drive with gross
Right,
hands.
sticky.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And we're because we live in the city, anytime we get in the car, we're in there, we're driving someplace. There are no short drives in our vehicle. So,
Sure.
yeah, so I am sure that we have some wipes in there somewhere.
Awesome. Um, so have you ever been to Cambodia by chance?
No.
Okay. I went on vacation back in 2011. So it was actually a trip to Thailand with a couple of stops, and one of them was Cambodia because why not? I mean, you're that close, right? Um, and I have never heard a jungle scream like I heard in Cambodia. And that's because the cicadas make this, and this was before I got to your ooey ooey sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly, so we're on this tuk-tuk. So the roads are dirt. Like there's only one main road, and that's to and from the airport, and then and around a roundabout, and then it just becomes red dirt roads. And so we're
Wow.
on this tuk-tuk, we're in the middle of the jungle. It's like, I don't know, 100 degrees, like the humidity is insane. And all I just hear is the jungle just going rear, rear, rear. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is
Yes.
happening right now? It was the craziest sound. It was so crazy.
So loud, right?
Yeah, it was so loud. So as I was reading your book, I was able to have this crazy connection to the jungle screaming. And then, like I
Awesome.
said, when you did your wee wee, I was like, I know what that sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an exaggeration of how loud these creatures en masse can get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, are you like fascinated with cicadas? Was there something that one day you just were like, you know what? I need to write a story. What is the
Yeah,
connection to
I mean,
cicadas with
I
you?
thank you. Yeah, I actually haven't shared because I have gotten questions about, how did the cicadas get folded into the story? Um, And I talked about how, during the pandemic, I had started plotting this out before the pandemic, but then the pandemic hit and I was still trying to figure out what this story was going to be. And Brood X was going to appear in spring of 2026. So the news was covering it because, it was like it's a very sticky story because it's bugs and people either love them or hate them. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
whole and so I hadn't heard of periodical cicadas. I grew up with annual cicadas in Louisiana, and I'm sure periodicals must have emerged at some point, but I just either missed because there are so many other bugs there. So I just got really fascinated with them and came across this short film by Samuel Orr called Return of the Cicadas, which is absolutely beautiful. I recommend it. And he really captures the beauty and and the ick of these creatures, like the how poignant it is that they live underground in solitude for 17 years and that they burst out in this just total, ecstatic kind of orgy and for a few weeks and then die and that up close they are beautiful. They have these just striking red eyes. They have these wings that look like stained glass. I mean, the colors are so beautiful. and unique. And then he also captures, just thousands of them swarming across tree trunks, swarming across the ground. And so that's the heebie-jeebies part of it. So I just loved that. And the part I haven't shared about is that when I was in high school, my biology teacher, Miss Barbin, had us collect bugs one semester, and we all would go to, I think it was Winn-Dixie. We would go to this parking lot, and I'm from a very, very small town in Louisiana. So the parking lot was, in the grocery store was sort of in the middle of nowhere, brightly lit parking lot, tons of bugs, coming from the surrounding trees and whatnot. And so I got really fascinated. I'd never looked so closely at so many different kinds of bugs. So I think I have retained a fascination with insects that was reignited or reawakened when I learned about brood eggs.
Very cool, very cool. And thank you for saying, because bugs, I have like I'm very picky with the bugs I like and the bugs I don't like. And mostly it has to do with those that bite and sting, I don't like.
Yeah,
And
right.
those that have like multiple legs, they just creepy. It's the ick factor to quote you.
Yeah.
Cicadas, I don't mind cicadas. I'm
Mm,
okay with cicadas. Like, they're like you said, it's probably because they do have that beautiful the wing, like it does look like there's an aesthetic to them,
mm.
unlike, and of course I'm sure spider lovers would disagree with me, but whatever, I'm not a spider lover. I respect them, I know they serve a
Yeah.
purpose, but this is as far as what I think is aesthetically pleasing. I'm happy it wasn't spiders is where I'm going.
Ooh, I mean, spiders are a whole other
Yeah,
ball game. I mean, I
yeah.
saw I follow National Geographic, and I saw a video the other day on Instagram of a female. I wish I remembered the name, but uh she, the male showed up and mated, or maybe fertilized the eggs. Maybe she was carrying them. I'm not sure. But like a second later, she just whipped him around. She had these really long, sharp, I don't know if the front legs have a different name, but and she just wrapped him up in the cocoon, turned him into food,
Ugh.
in the pantry. And that, I mean, and even though that is that's every day for her. That's an everyday occurrence. That's, ho hum. Like why watching that is just so shocking. Something, and it's on a very visceral level. I don't think it's conditioned. I think it's like, in the body, that reaction.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I'm just like I said, I'm glad it was cicadas and not spiders and
Good,
other
yes.
other icky things.
Yeah, yeah.
So I could handle everything you put. Okay, so on that note, here we go. Here's this is this book was so disgusting and disturbing, yet so well written, I couldn't stop reading it.
Is that your
That's
quote?
I was
That's
I'm
great.
like
Wow.
I'm like I can't stop. And this is so disgusting.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
But
Wow. I'm just like, I did my job.
you
I did
did.
my
You did.
job.
You did.
Yeah.
So and in regards, so piggybacking off of that, normally I, love reading and counting how many times coffee is referenced and the food that is referenced. And I usually get really hungry when I'm reading your book. And I want to grab a little snack. So here we go. Your book, however, had the opposite effect. I was not hungry, and I most definitely did not want to eat while I was reading. Again, without giving away spoilers, so you did redeem yourself at the end, and
Good.
I'll just
Yeah.
leave it at that with
Yep. Yep.
coffee.
Yep.
And so you finally gave me coffee. Thank you. And yes, I'll take four roses bourbon in mine. How do you take yours?
How do I take my coffee? I right now I'm having coffee with almond milk in the
Nice.
morning, very simple. I don't because I mostly drink in the morning. I can't real like it is a mood enhancer for me. Like it makes me able to be in the world. So I have it before I ever leave the house and really before I interact very much. And I'm not doing dairy right now because I had a little stomach issue I was dealing with. So yeah, so just almond milk, warm almond milk, and my coffee, and it has a little mushroom in there too, a little lion's mane. Um,
Nice.
yes, yeah,
Nice. I am having decaf espresso with you right now.
very
So,
nice.
because it is late in the afternoon,
Yeah,
so I have to if it's, past 1 o'clock, I will do decaf unless it's Friday. Friday is a different story. I'll drink three at till 3 or 4 o'clock, and I'll make it regular just because I'm like, it's the weekend. I can stay up
right.
late, right?
Yeah, yeah,
S-
festive. Yeah.
For sure. So, okay, there is, and I have to know the story before we get too far into this conversation, which I'm very much enjoying. So thank you. You have a picture on your Instagram with Tea Leoni with
Oh,
your book. What is that story? Or is that like how I need to know? I have been dying to ask you this question.
oh, wow. Yeah, she's amazing. You know, she's just a wonderful person. She was introduced to me by my cousin who passed away a couple of years ago. And she has, graciously blurbed my first book. And then also when I shared her this one, she sent me that picture and she was like, yeah, sure, share it. And my friend Caroline is in that picture as well. She founded an organization called the Miracle Foundation, which supports orphanages, or well, their mission is actually a family for every child. So kind of ending orphanages, actually. But that photo features two amazing human beings. I will say that.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
with a purpose even. So
Yes.
how cool is that? Like, I don't see, like that is like just when you think there's, you can't add an extra layer of goodness, you just did. So that's awesome.
Good.
That is
Bring on
freaking
the
awesome.
goodness. Yeah. It's out
Right?
there. Goodness is out there. We
It
just need to be reminded.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. That being said, you put Mary through a whole lot. And as you were saying about your workshop, so my question to you is, was there a point where you're like, okay, I think we need to pump the brakes on how much she can take, or are there still chapters? Is there still stuff you think you could still, not that you can't change the book now, but I'm just
Right.
saying, did you take out pages and just go, no, I can't. Like, how did that happen in your writing process with Mary and
Mm-hmm.
the things that you put her through?
Yeah. I think I gave it to her pretty as excessively as I wanted to. I think I gave her as much as someone her could tolerate her age. She's 57. She's in great shape. She's always
Yeah.
taken great care of her body. Not always, but yeah, as an adult, it became
Yes.
very important to her to be, strong and physically fit and also aesthetically she was very concerned with her body and her looks. So I couldn't, like, I needed what I put her through to leave her in a good enough condition that she could, that she's not she needs to be conscious for most of the book, you know what I mean? Like you can't and she needs to be able to make decisions and we need to follow her. And so I think I put her through about as much as I could. I don't think I left any torture on the table, if you will. Um, so yeah, and I definitely, and I also like there were other things with other characters that I may have dialed back based on other people's input. Um, so I'll say that, yeah, without
How-
giving anything away,
For
but yeah.
sure, for sure. How long did it take you to write this book?
Probably 2 years. I mean, I'm not, I don't want to call myself a slow writer, but see the pace at which some folks write, and I'm just like, how do you do that? Maybe I just am not, I take a while because I really focus on every sentence. I mean, I can get into on the word and sentence level. I really can spend a lot of time. I enjoy that piece of it. Maybe I tinker too much, but I don't. This is just my pace. So yeah, I would say a couple years. Yeah, and then a year of shopping it around to publishers, and then yeah. So my last book came out 5 years ago. And so that's my pace. If that gives you some
There's
idea.
there's nothing wrong with that, and
Right.
it's again, it's what works for you,
Right.
and like I said, this it was it was a lot to read to go through that to experience that with
Hmm.
Mary,
Hmm.
and girl. Um, so now was it intentional to name her Mary? Did you have a conscious, like, did you say to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna give these people these names. Was there any other name that came to you first besides Mary?
Yeah, I think I experimented with Mary with different names for Mary and then just kind of landed on this one. I don't know if there's it just felt right, I guess. Just felt right on the ear. Um, I mean, I don't think that I was thinking Virgin Mary or anything like that.
Okay, because
Um,
that was gonna be a
well, I,
question
and
without
people,
trying to give
right,
away
exactly.
spoilers. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyone who's named Mary, you're gonna make that connect. It's just, yeah, it's just there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't. Did you ask me about girl, or you just asked me about Mary? Just Mary.
Just Mary,
Yeah,
Mary.
yeah.
And okay, so your characters' names. Let's talk about your characters' names with again without giving away spoilers. But the fact that you had for the longest time only a few characters' names, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just reading about girl and Mary and girl and Mary and girl and Mary, like wow, that was so interesting. I don't think I've read a book where the character, for the most part, usually, characters have names, and her name was
Mm-hmm.
Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you tell us about how you named her that?
Yeah, I think it's part of her, um, that the fact that she grew up with no care, with no one who considered her, she wasn't even loved enough to get a name, really. I mean, that's really the root of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, you put your women through so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
wow.
on a practical, I do. And on a practical level, when you only have a couple of characters, you got to do something to keep, the stew brewing and keep the reader reading. And it is a horror novel. And I just decided I just went there. I
Yeah,
just
you
went there. And,
did.
and plus people endure, look, in real life, people endure some unimaginable things. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh, let's change that up. You reference a Metallica t-shirt.
Mm.
Why did you choose Metallica as opposed to say Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin? What
Or
was
Slayer, or
or
yeah.
Slay? Why Metallica?
I mean, maybe it's a little cliche, but I just thought this would be, that t-shirt would represent, you know, its wearer to some degree. No, not to say, I mean, Metallica is very talented. I mean,
Yes,
they
yes, they
really
are.
are. They're musicians,
Yes,
but
yeah,
just as a shortcut, to a kind of person that might listen to that music. I'm sure there's all different kinds of people that listen to that music, but um yeah, that's why. I hope that makes sense. I'm being very coy with how I talk about it too. But I
sure, for
love that
sure.
you noticed it. I love that you noticed it.
Well, for sure. The reason it popped into my head, and I was like, there has to be a story behind, because you mentioned it. It wasn't, you didn't just say the character's wearing this. Like, it was a couple times, like you mentioned it specifically,
Hmm.
not the shirt or the graphic t-shirt specifically. So I'm like, there's
Yeah.
got to be a story behind that.
Well, and I never, like, I don't know that, this is back in my younger days when I was living in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I just had, friends who loved heavy metal, and I think my boyfriend at the time loved it, and they just were, into the head banging, and they were into like knowing that there was a stereotype about, who listens to heavy metal and death metal and all of that. So there was a certain kind of um I don't know, a playfulness about it too. So yeah.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, okay. So a couple of questions. You reference pate de foie gras.
Mm.
Are you a fan of pate? And then we'll ask some other questions about that.
I wouldn't say I was a fan, and in part because of, how it's made, which is pretty, and I assume they still make it that way.
I assume. I
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah. That said, I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to food. So, but I would say the taste doesn't necessarily, um, attract me enough that I would go out and find it and buy it. And yeah.
For sure. Being from the 80's, and that pate was very big back then, and again, it was the whole was it Greed is Good with Michael Douglas, like,
Yep.
right? So like, I mean, the 80's, it was all about excess.
Yes.
And my mom loved pate.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know what it was at the time. I was a teenager, I didn't know. And I just remember my mom just loving it and getting, cans of it, and then learning about it. And then me being appalled once I learned what I was eating and what she was eating.
Hmm.
And then finding out there are actually vegetarian versions. And then I felt so much better about eating pate.
Right, made with mushrooms, right?
I
Yeah,
believe so,
I'm
yes.
pretty sure I have tried that and it's quite delicious. So
Yes.
I would do that. Yeah.
Yes. She sent me so I was stationed in Turkey, and she sent me some cans of vegetarian pate while I was there. And I like I said, I thought it was great. My friends were like, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "It's vegetables. It's fine. It's safe. It's okay." I'm like, I'm not being like, it's okay. Don't worry. We're not doing any bad things. It's
Now, are you vegetarian or you were just trying the vegetarian pate?
so I grew up Argentinian, so we ate a lot of meat. And then again, 80's, PETA comes along. I jumped on the PETA bandwagon. I
Huh?
became a vegetarian. My family thought I had lost my mind because, again, best beef in the world, best barbecues in the world, Argentinian barbecues. So, I just ate salads and potatoes and things of that nature. Then I became a pescatarian
Hmm.
because I felt like I wasn't getting enough.
Right,
Beans and rice just wasn't cutting it for my
right.
active body. So I started
Yeah.
eating seafood. And they were okay with that. They were like, okay, well, at least you're eating some meat. And then now I'm just an omnivore. I just eat, just just to sustain my body. So I could very much
Right.
relate to Mary and understand, like, once I learned about food, because I used to have I had the same diet she did for a while. Breakfast was toast and coffee.
Mm.
Stupidest thing you can do to your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deprive
Absolutely.
it, deprive it of its things.
Right.
But once I learned about nutrition, I got a personal trainer. She taught me about, doing what the right thing to do for food. Now I know I have my fats, I have my carbs, and I have my protein. So
Great.
that's
Great.
my diet, whatever that may be, even, incorporating vegetables and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
very long story. What about you?
I also kind of eat for what my body is feeling it needs at the time. And by the way, I hear the construction guys right outside my window right now. So we'll see if they start hammering. I may have to relocate to the kitchen. Um, but yeah, so and I have been dairy and gluten free because I was dealing with this gastritis issue that seems to be resolving itself. But I will eat, steak like once a week, and it feels good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think so because of, having I won't go into massive details, but somehow, somewhere along the way, back in 2005, 2000, yeah, between 2004 and 2005, I don't exactly remember the year. I got really sick. I got a really bad virus that literally hospitalized me.
wow.
And I was a vegetarian at the time. And my doctor put me on massive steroids to help me, get out of the hospital and get home.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he asked, he's like, "Do you eat meat?" He's like, "Your iron is just really low. Like
Wow.
you need to eat some meat, girl." And so I was like, "Okay, I need to do it to be alive." So, my mom, I wasn't living at home with my mom, but my mom took me in to care for me while I was, sick.
Yeah.
And
So this was a big deal.
it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And to this day, they still don't know what the virus was, but I literally was, it
So they
actually,
were just calling it a virus and they didn't know what it was?
yeah, I got tested for everything, but it literally debilitated me I couldn't move. I actually was like arthritic. I literally would lay in bed and just cry in pain, and I was just laying in bed. I mean, this
That sounds
virus was
like,
like, well, they tested me for West Nile, they tested me for you name it, they tested me for everything, and they don't know. So, anyway, during part of the treatment was the steroids. And so he and recommended meat. And so the best part about it was I would eat a burger, and then like an hour later, because of the steroids, I'd be like, hey mom, are you hungry? She's like, we just ate an hour ago. And I was like, I could really use another burger. And like my metabolism just like
wow.
so I've never looked back. So I was
Yeah.
like, clearly my body needed it, and
Yeah.
I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm not doing things to geese. I don't feel, bad about what I'm doing. Again,
Mm.
I'm not being excessive, or
Right, right.
no
You eat
greed is
as
good here.
mindfully, yeah, eat as
Yes.
mindfully as you can and
Yes.
know where the food comes from, where the meat comes from. Yeah.
For sure. And I learned that actually, like, local farms, so when we were living in Washington, there were local farms, but the meat in the store was from the local farms. And so it felt good to eat
Yes.
local,
Mm-hmm.
meat. And I'll tell you what, it was really good. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna
I
lie. It was,
bet.
because I grew up on, stores,
Right.
but when you have fresh eggs from a farm,
Mm-hmm.
like, good
There's a difference.
Lord,
Yeah, for sure.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
all these people, all these years, I had no idea food could taste that delicious because it was made right there.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knew? Who
Who
knew?
knew?
Yeah. So now that we've gone down that rabbit hole,
And we would eat a rabbit if it showed up out of that hole. We would be open to eating that rabbit,
I
maybe.
don't know
No,
about
no. Okay,
I
okay.
don't know
People
about
eat
that.
rabbits and squirrels where I'm
I
from in
know.
Louisiana.
Okay, so here, let's talk about that. So, we just recently relocated, and I'm just gonna call it the South. I'll just leave
Hmm.
it at that to keep it nice and generic. And I just learned about haints and hollers
Oh,
and haint blue and haint trees.
wow.
Like, do you have any?
I've heard of Haints, but only through reading. Where I'm from in central Louisiana, those terms aren't really used, but I have heard of them.
I had no, so, but haint blue
I have
is
no idea what a Haint blue, that I have not heard of. I've heard of just the Haint.
okay. So haint would be, it's a term for haunt. The reason that they paint haint blue on the outside, so you're supposed to paint haint blue on your patio or
Mm.
on your shutters.
So it's a shade of
It
blue?
is a shade of
Okay.
blue, and
Wow.
it's because the haints will stay, they'll haunt the outside. They won't come in. They can't come in, so the spirits.
So it blocks them.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
reason that it's blue is because water is a barrier. They can't swim, so
Wow.
to speak. So they use this haint blue on the outside of their houses. And I just, like I said, I feel like I'm learning so much being here and being exposed to so
Yes,
many
that's
new,
wonderful.
such cultural
That's
history.
part of the adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I mean, come on, Louisiana has some amazing like history and food. Hello, getting back on the topic of food.
Yes, for sure.
Did you grow up hearing like I'm just gonna call them like Louisiana ghost stories? Cajun, I don't know, like is like
Yeah, there's Cajun in my area for sure. And there's also French. But the ghost stories, I'd say by the time, I was in high school in the 80's. And so the things that scared us were probably uh, at that point probably pretty aligned with what was flying around in pop culture. Poltergeist came out when I was in high school, and The Exorcist a bit before that. I mean, I will say that I grew up Catholic, and so a lot of the sort of there was a real mystical quality to it that I could find very spooky, especially some of the proclaimed miracles, like if someone in the town over, there's a statue of the Virgin Mary that's weeping tears, or there's a chalkboard that there's with an image in chalk swirls of the Virgin Mary, and you can't seem to erase it. So stuff like that, these kind of there's the awe in the sense of like the frightening awe, like the and also when I was in high school, folks were going to Medjugorje. I don't know if you are familiar with those miracles. I think it was near at that time, I think it was called Yugoslavia. I'm going to expose my hideous lack um, of geography here, but so people even from my time, from my little town, Catholics were going there on pilgrimage, and supposedly they were seeing the sun spin around. They were staring at the sun, and it was spinning around, or it looked like the host, the Eucharist. And not only that, but they were coming home with the rosaries. They had brought their personal rosaries with them there. And when they came back, these rosaries, the metal had changed to, alchemically changed into a gold color. And that stuff just freaked the hell out of me. I don't know if it's because I was like, man, I'm a sinner, and if this God stuff, as Catholicism puts it forth, is true, I'm in trouble. Like if this stuff is really like um Yeah, so that stuff really did spook me, and also it's quite fascinating as well. And there's stuff about Catholicism when I was a kid that I loved, and that I found like very joyful and but yeah, that stuff, if there was any sort of ghostly spooky stories for me as a kid, that's where it originated.
That so would you consider writing another like your next
Yeah,
book
I
horror
think I
story with that?
would like some kind of folk. Yes, I would. Not my next one. My next one, I'm kind of already thinking about. But um, yes, that's definitely a possibility. My first novel, Life Like Creatures, not a horror, but it did take place in Louisiana. So I have a really strong connection to, the land and that environment, and it's just so saturated and immersive. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's something there that will get written.
it has the I've never been anywhere other than in New Orleans, as far as Louisiana is concerned.
Hmm.
Um, so my roommates from Turkey, we when we all left Turkey, they ended up getting stationed in Mississippi, and I was in Arkansas. And so
Oh
I drove from
wow.
Arkansas down through Louisiana, made my little turn, and headed towards Mississippi.
Hmm.
And we decided to meet up in New Orleans since I had never been. And the whole time I was driving through Louisiana, swamp,
Hmm.
all I kept thinking was, please don't break down. Please don't break down on the side of this road. And please don't let there be any creatures that are going to come out onto the road
All
from
valid concerns,
just
Michelle.
that state scared the crap out of me. I just,
Yeah, there's a lot of it that's still, kind of wild and rural. And of course,
yeah,
New Orleans is it's a very
yes,
different
yes,
place from the rest of the state.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But driving through, just like I said, just me being from Southern California, so my
Mm-hmm.
exposure, I was in my 20s, so I'd only grown up in Southern California, and I had only been exposed to Turkey and a little bit of Texas where my father was stationed. So I really hadn't been outside of my little, bubble.
Mm.
And so going to Louisiana, just yeah, it was. Uh, I just remember all I kept thinking was, please don't break down. Please
Well,
don't let me break down on the side of this road.
well, good for you that
Yeah,
you did it.
I did. I did. I
Yeah.
faced my fears. I faced my fears.
Yes.
That being said, a couple more things, just to wrap this up. So your story and your characters, body horror, eco horror, bugs, ick. Um, was there something this because of cicadas? Did you really want to combine this concept and turn it into body horror? Were you thinking, you know what, I can do this and not use body horror? Or were you just like, no, I'm gonna link cicadas and body horror and just make this thing and take you there? How did this story come about?
Um, I mean, I don't even know if I guess I must have known the term body horror before I started writing um, The Brood, but I don't think I thought of those as two distinct things. I think they were just all sort of a piece. And um, and I certainly wanted to capture, it's stuff that gives me the heebie-jeebies too. I mean, I'm not like inflicting anything on the reader that I don't feel myself. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Um,
There were so many things. So the cave, they go into the cave, and there's so many things like I can. I have so much like women's body,
Mm-hmm.
so many things about women's bodies and this. So many times did I feel, you know, at times your body is not your own.
Mm.
And so many times I felt, okay, this feels like a woman's body.
Mm.
So you gave this juxtaposition of
Yeah.
your body is not your own,
Yes.
and now we're in a woman's body.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I was like,
Absolutely.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And in some sense, like, or any of our bodies our own, but especially, women who just happen to their physiognomy is that they carry the young the young gestate in this body that is called, a woman's body. And I that that adolescent retort that many of us have given our parents, like, I didn't ask to be born. It's like, I didn't ask to be born in this particular kind of body. And and when you're a child and you're a girl, and all of a sudden you learn like how that shit goes down. It's like, what? I mean, it's extraordinary, but it seems incongruous with the way I go about my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So that was a part of it. I mean, and it also is just highlighting. So definitely that was there. You totally picked up on that. Um, and it's also just highlighting, like, how much of our life and our body and our mortality and any of it do we truly have control over. And having that realization, kind of, how do we find peace, how do we navigate that, and how do we even, kind of enjoy and appreciate the fact that we are always in a dynamic, ever changing process.
Totally. Totally. This might be too much information, but I'm gonna put it out there because
Okay.
there's a lot of women that listen to the show. So, menopause. You grow up and you hear this word, don't really understand it because it's happening to somebody else. But I'll tell you what, I hate it. I used to be cold all the time, Rebecca. Cold, cold, cold. And my mom was always hot, hot, hot. And I didn't understand it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you always so hot? Rebecca, do you see my pink cheeks?
I do see your pink cheeks.
I'm hot all the time. I hate it. I used to be cold all the time. Now, if it's not 65 degrees or below,
Mm,
I'm hot. I'm like, when is this gonna stop? When is
yeah.
this gonna stop? I'm 55.
Oh my
When?
gosh, we're the same age. I thought you were seriously like 20 years younger than me. But I really did. When you mentioned the 80s and the foie gras, I was like, really? I
Just,
was like, no way. She must have been, there's no way she could have been a teenager in the 80s. So I made you
I,
younger in my mind. But
well,
yes.
thank you. No,
What's your birthday?
so I'm a Mayday baby.
You're May Day
So,
baby. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm September 17th, so I'm a Virgo. But
Okay.
um I will say there are ways to address that, and I have availed myself of those, and I'm very glad that I have. I will put in a plug for talking to your doctor.
Oh my God. It's well, okay. My my family, we talk about everything. Dinner table is always about it's so weird how we used to talk about because they're Argentinians, so politics was always part of the conversation. Who were you voting for? That was a very contested, but it
Mm,
was an important question. It
right.
wasn't because they wanted to have a hot debate. It was
Right.
because they really wanted to know,
I
okay,
think that's amazing.
why is your candidate better than my candidate? It
Yeah.
was literally, okay, what is your candidate doing that mine's not doing? And, should I
Right. So they
consider
were
voting?
asking, they were
Yes,
really asking out of
yes.
curiosity, not so that they could tell you, that their candidate was better. They really were
Yes.
curious.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
incredible.
Right?
I
I
so
know.
admire that.
It's crazy. But and they were very animated, and sometimes the conversations did get very loud and heated. Because, well, do you know what he did? Kind of thing.
Mm,
But needless to say, so the conversation as we grew older, it changed from politics to, so when was the last time you got your colonoscopy?
right. Yeah, I have a friend who has started putting a limit, when his friends of a certain age get together, like, all right, guys, we got 10 minutes for the health procedure discussion, and then we're cutting it off and talking about other things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My cousin to this day, she's like, "So when was the last time you got your?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "We were just talking about, speaking of Metallica, we were just talking, she's going to Slayer."
Oh,
So she's
cool.
like, "Oh, we're going to Slayer, so cool. Hey, did you when was the last time you went to the lady doctor?" And I'm like, "How are these two things?"
In the same conversation,
But
yep.
it's because we love each other. So that's really what it comes
And
down to.
and she loves Slayer, and that's yes.
Right, right. So, that being said, Rebecca, I wanted to know, are there any things that we have not tapped into about your book? Did we hit all of the points that you would like to discuss about your book? Did we miss anything?
Um, I mean, I love everything that you brought up. Um, I guess I would just say like give the cicadas a chance, and just like you said, a lot of people have said, "Oh, this is so disgusting. I have a hard time with bugs," but I kept read, and it seems like people that keep reading, it's worth it. It's worth getting to the other side of it.
It
So,
it really is. It really is. I like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I very much it took me to places that I didn't want to go. But we all came out on the other side with
yes.
coffee.
With
So
coffee. Yes, with
coffee,
coffee. Yes.
coffee, yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to say congratulations to you on the Brood, and
Thank you. Yeah, it'll
uh,
be out by the time this airs. It will be out and available, at your the usual suspects, barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. And
awesome.
the audiobook is fantastic as well, narrated by Sarah Shekels. She did such an amazing job. So for folks that like audiobooks, this is one well worth listening to.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know it took us 3 months to get here, and I had my move in between. So thank you for being so patient and understanding with this whole process. And it was so lovely to talk with you and talk about
Oh,
your book, baby.
thank you, Michelle, and thanks for working me in, in the middle of your transition, and congratulations on your new nest, your new digs.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for the conversation. It was really wonderful.
So, Rebecca, we
Yes.
have to give a big shout out to Robert Ottone
Yes.
because you reached out. So that is our connection
That is
here.
our connection. Yeah, I met Robert actually on the New York chapter of the Horror Writers Association um, monthly meeting that they have on Zoom. But then I met him at StokerCon, and I was a newbie. That was my first StokerCon. As we mentioned, this is my genre debut, and he graciously sat down with me and made some suggestions for podcasts, and he really spoke highly of your podcast and said that I could, say I was referred by him when I reached out. So, yeah, big shout out of thanks to Robert for connecting us.
Yeah. Well, Robert, thank you so much. You rock. Keep up the good
Yeah,
work.
you
Thank
rock,
you.
Robert.
Thank you. Would you do the honors and wish everyone a happy Halloween and sign us off with a go forth and be magical, please?
Sure. Happy Halloween, everybody. Go forth and be magical.